I think Hans Zimmer was the first investor, one of the first artistic investors in it. I know, it's, crazy name. So,
That's mad.
Yeah.
But sorry, continue.
So it was like, how do we do the machine thing with it? How do we turn it into something that, is in everybody's hands?
Yeah.
And any bedroom producer like myself at the time really could have one of these things and it would help.
Man, I grew up in the South, made a man of a mouse. Barely talk about my life though, no matter how bad it might go. Keep it inside, oh, don't mean it's right though. South. I grew up in the South. Where I grew up, it was tests. Better trials and tribulations.
What's good, brother? Good to be here, man.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you,
Thank you
bro.
for having
It's
me.
good to have you, man.
Hello.
Thank you so much, Chrissy. Legend. Cheers, bro.
Had to do it right with drinks, yeah?
Come on. Okay, so for those that don't know, this is Manon Dave, and he's executively produced the Worst Generation album. Off the back of producing that album, we've obviously bonded a lot more over the music and kind of created a lot more of a rapport around what we want to achieve. Talk me through your story.
Yeah, do you know what? It's crazy because I've sort of, I've fallen in and out of music in a, what's this?
I'm gonna give you that. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna give you that.
Okay.
I'm gonna take this. And you're gonna draw me and I'm gonna draw you whilst we talk.
Oh my, all right.
Let's go.
This is not gonna be,
Let's go.
it's not gonna be very complimentary.
I mean, it's all right, man. It's art, you get me? It's art.
Yeah, around 2008, I kind of was at a juncture where I had to decide whether I was going to go and commit to a career in music or really kind of commit to a career in technology, which I had sort of studied at university and stuff. And weirdly, from that point onwards, I think I was really doing both.
Crazy.
So I was in Berlin to kind of fuse both passions of tech and music, working at Native Instruments, working on a product called Machine. But at that time, I met the guy who started Roland Lamb, and I ended up spending 4.5 years, basically, sort of working on turning what was originally like this super expensive squishy keyboard into something that people all around the world could afford to have.
Yeah.
It went from like $10,000 to being, something that people who are taking music seriously could afford, $700-800.
Yeah.
I think Hans Zimmer was the first investor, one of the first artistic investors in it. I know, it's crazy name.
That's mad.
Yeah.
But sorry, continue.
So it was like, how do we do the machine thing with it? How do we turn it into something that is in everybody's hands?
Yeah.
And any bedroom producer like myself at the time really could have one of these things and it would help. We ended up building something that won a bunch of awards, Consumer Electronics Awards, Music Industry Awards, and started to really get into the sound of mainstream music. So, everyone from like Flying Lotus to Coldplay to Pharrell, like all of these people were using the products on stage in studios. And about 4 years into it, Apple partnered with us to create a whole new range of products that were even more accessible, called Blocks. And that's what ended up in the Apple stores worldwide. So it was mad. I went from sort of being in tech and not really enjoying being in tech to really fusing the two together. And we ended up in all the Apple stores globally, which was a moment for sure.
So did you feel the nature of that transition, like, because obviously Apple is one of the most renowned companies in the world. When did the penny drop for you? Do you know what I mean? Like, when did it go from you not enjoying it to you understanding that you're about to essentially change the way that people create music for a little while, at least? When did that become more evident to you?
I think, honestly, seeing the product in the Apple store itself, and like I think we're the first, maybe only company ever to have like an entire wall in the Apple store dedicated to us, other than Beats, which Apple bought anyway. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. So that was like kind of, I think the moment, like you say, the penny dropped. I also think that was the moment the penny dropped for me musically, and I just thought to myself, I haven't actually made that much music in the last 5 years. You know what I mean? 5.5, 6 years.
But you just developed some music technology within this period of time. Walk me through the process of being an Asian man living in North London in a council flat with your family, then transitioning to developing a piece of technology that would essentially change your life.
I think one of the pivotal things that happened for me, so my parents are Indian, and you know, it's a thing like with Indian families, the arts and music and all that. It's a difficult pill to swallow.
Of course.
For parents of that generation who see their kids wanting to move into that direction.
Yeah.
And I remember I was helping a friend of mine at the time score a short film that he was working on. He was an independent filmmaker, and he said to me, "Yo, so I met this. We're doing this documentary on this composer, and I was telling him about you, and he wants to meet you." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Like, who's that?" He's like, "Yeah, he's an Indian composer." I'm like, "Okay, like, what's his name?" And he goes, A.R. Rahman. And so A.R. Rahman, for those who don't know, is, you know, he sold more records than the Beatles, more records than Michael Jackson. Like, or at least a comparable amount, you know what I mean, of records as those guys. He's basically the biggest artist in India. It's almost like an understatement to call him an artist. He's like an icon, you know what I mean, in India. And so I grew up listening to this man's music. So I'm like, okay, first of all, how do you know this guy? And how, you know, how is it that he wants to meet me? So they were shooting this documentary on him, and he was based in London at the time. So he invites me to this place, and lo and behold, he actually showed up. Yeah, shows up. It's the house that he's bought, and obviously I'm gobsmacked that he's there. Of course. You know what I mean? But and I'm even more gobsmacked that he's heard my music.
So talk to me about when he's walked in the room and you've realised this is actually real. Like, what was the feeling like? What was the first thing you thought at that point?
It's hard to put into words. Do you know what I mean? It's like somebody that you not only. I wouldn't really say the word idolize, but somebody I definitely looked at as like, you know, an icon and an inspiration when it came to making music, especially being Indian and making music. Of
course.
And then somebody that I knew was almost a bridge between what my parents understood to be a successful path for a music maker, and where I was at and who I was and what I was doing. So all of those kind of emotions, and then just obviously naturally starstruck, man. You know, you don't meet people like that
every day.
Long story short, you know, he basically mentored me, or has been a big part of my career. I think he just, you know, he's somebody who has always sort of championed the fact that an Asian person from whatever background, you know, in a culture that doesn't necessarily promote pursuing the arts as a career. But yeah, that was, I think, the moment that my parents also massively, I went home that night and I was like, they were like, so where were you? And I was like, I met A.R. Rahman. And they were like, what do you mean? I remember I still have the picture of that. I just begged, at the end I was just like, look, I need to get a picture because no one's going to believe me. and that picture, I think, did the rounds with the extended family. Within a matter of hours, I think half of the Indian population had pre-Instagram, you know what I mean?
Talk to me about what you've done for TV and film in that space of 5 years. You've met AR, your situation is starting to change, obviously, like you said, not immediately, but flex a little bit and run off those credits between 2000 and 2000, let's say 8 and 2011, 12.
I mean, one of the big things I worked on, which you know, I carry with me, was a TV show called Heroes. I had like 3 songs. I had a song in Gossip Girl. I don't know if you remember that TV
Gossip
show.
Girl.
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay, Gossip Girl was a.
Gossip Girl.
Yeah, Gossip Girl.
Okay.
Yeah,
my bad.
Gossip Girl.
Of course. Yeah, of course I know
Gossip Girl. There's a director called J.J. Abrams who got kind of like commissioned around that time to do the new Star Trek films. Yeah. The series of films. Yeah. And a mutual.
So we're moving into the scoring space now.
Scoring space, which, by the way, I didn't even have any experience or plans really to. Like, I wanted to do records. You know what I mean? Like,
so you fell into scoring for
fluke. Just because of that, I think partly because of the AR connection, you know what I mean? Like, because that's what he was known for. Yeah. And a lot of the stuff.
I mean, who you know is important.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff he would, you know, there'd be stuff that he'd turn down, or like stuff would come to him and he'd be like, maybe you should check out this guy. And then I ended up, doing the string, but it's crazy to say it now, but like
so
the
you
string
did the
parts.
string. Say it.
Yeah. So the string parts for the first teaser trailer of Star Trek were arranged on FL Studio on my
That's your
Lenovo
work.
laptop. Yeah.
That's insane.
So yeah, man, like a lot of crazy stuff like that. And then naturally that kind of did open up a few doors on doing the record stuff. You know what I mean? So around that time, I ended up doing some remixes. I did a remix for for Sierra and Justin Timberlake.
Crazy.
Love, Sex, Magic. I did a remix of another Justin Timberlake and Timberland song actually called Carry Out, a Britney Spears remix, like, you know what I mean, like lots of like American label stuff. And I was spending a lot of time out there, to be fair. So yeah, a lot of that stuff started to happen, and at the same time, I was just working a full-time gig.
You're a
Chrissy,
G.
this is amazing, by the way.
Yeah, it's insane. I'm trying to pace myself because
I need to make sure I get the drawing done.
We're
before.
getting there. I mean,
it's gonna look like
I'm pretty much done.
it's gonna look like a Picasso otherwise. You know what I mean?
I feel like I've made you look a bit mad.
You're gonna think you're Dennis Rodman after this one.
Let's go, man. Talk me through the process of creating the technology that then became the native instrument.
So I actually saw this ad pop up on Facebook, which was like product manager, Native Instruments, you know, which was crazy because I was, at that point, straight up, I mean, in the interview, I remember telling him like, look, I've only ever illegally downloaded your software. You get me? So,
you said that in the interview.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, I'm gonna be real.
I mean, you gotta keep it a buck.
I don't know how to do any hardware. I've never done hardware before.
Yeah.
I've written software. I'm very familiar with your product.
Yeah.
And yeah, like in all honesty, I've never paid for it, and I think that's one of the things that you want to make people do is put lifetime customers out of people.
Of course.
Same on the music side. So yeah, so I was out there taking what was done with Machine Mark 1, which was kind of a tip of the hat to the MPC, and thought how do we really get this to the masses? Again, that was kind of like my mindset of how could I actually afford to buy something like this and also get the same power out of it as other people. Yeah, I think, we were really innovative at the time, being one of the first companies and teams to do that. And yeah, just seeing that thing, I remember the first time I saw it was on Jimmy Kimmel. Coldplay were performing, and they actually had the thing facing the audience, like playing loops, but because it lights up and whatever, it was almost like a showpiece, but obviously they use it as part of their set. But to think that like it was like Chris Martin and Machine was crazy, and I just wanted more of it after that. So
how did your family feel when did they ever see?
I don't think they got it. Like I don't think they even really clocked it like that.
All right? Let me ask you a question. Yeah. Is that like I don't understand the magnitude of what's happened, or is it like I just don't understand what's happened? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think they gradually started to understand what was happening. I don't think the magnitude really hit them until, like I say, I think a lot of it came down to because of where they're from and the culture and whatever. When they started seeing people that they knew and recognized, like an A.R. Rahman.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I took my mum to one of his concerts, and he was playing instruments that I had worked on designing, like the Seaboard or whatever.
Yeah.
That was crazy. And then we go backstage, and I think he like would mutter something to her about like, your son's doing a great job, whatever those ones, you need the gems. I was like, AR, yeah man.
Legend.
I can't afford a check, but otherwise it'd be in the mail, but stuff like that. Yeah. That's I think when it really hit home for them and for me, because I just, like now, obviously you've met my family actually.
Yeah. Absolutely beautiful bunch of people.
Thank you, bro. But it's one of those now that now they see it, now they really understand how I've been able to balanced the books essentially.
Talk to me about how you started and then continued to like cultivate your relationship with the likes of will.i.am.
We'd be out, like myself, the CEO of Rolly, a few of the team, we'd be out demoing stuff to different people. We went to his studio. I went to do a demo of what the software and hardware was capable of. And I remember like just thinking, all right, I've done the demo, he's been super sort of gracious with his time. I better step before they get into the work kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I remember like I put on my backpack, so I'm about to leave, and I'm literally like my back is to Will, and he was like, "Hey, where you going?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just about to go, man. Obviously I know you've got a session starting now." So and he was like, "Do you make beats?" And I was like, "Yeah, I make beats." And he was like, "Let's hear some." You know what I mean? And I played him a few things. So did Marco and Jack, obviously, who were there for a session anyway. And next thing you know, we all started just working together.
So it all just started off the back of a question
of do you make beats? You know what I mean? And I think, but again, I would have never, ever been in that room had it not been, and this is what I'm trying to say, pursuing the parallel path of just, I have a career in tech.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And those things, just being kind of really persistent about trying to find ways and opportunities to bridge the two things. I don't think I would have ever been called into a room with will.i.am for any other reason. So that has blossomed into a great relationship. Will and I I'm thankful enough to call him a friend now, and somebody who we're collaborating with each other on multiple fronts. You know what I mean? So we've been working together a long time.
Let's talk about how we met then.
Yeah. I mean, well, so crazy year, 2018, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
I got married. A week later, I moved to Cambridgeshire. We got a place in Cambridgeshire. I'm sat there watching Colours with my wife, and the next one was you, and I think it was Zuko. Was it? Yeah. So already you got me by the name because I was like, okay, that's interesting. Like, you know what I mean? He's gonna. You get me? Come on. So I was like, all right, this guy's gonna get into some cultural content. You know what I mean? Like, I remember like listening over and over again, thinking, oh my, okay, this is mad. And the thing is, there's a lot of UK artists, UK rappers in particular that I respect, but it just wasn't. I just grew up on American hip hop, so for me, like, lyrics are everything. And so I'm listening for lyrics, and that's honestly, it wasn't just the fact that it was just quick punches, but just the way, the delivery, the pace, the energy, like all of that stuff just grasped me, man. So again, my wife was just like, look, why don't you just contact this guy and just like ask him if he wants to work with you? Yeah. And I was just like, I'm just gonna hit a brick wall, you know what I mean? It's gonna be management and like all this stuff. Like he's on Colours, you know what I mean? He came after Georgia Smith, so it's just gonna be tricky. Yeah. So I sent an email that night, and I just thought, I can't send an email saying, hi, I'm this, I'm that, and whatever. Let me just send music. And I think I sent you like 3 or 4 songs, right? 3 or 4 tracks with verses.
There was a couple of beats.
Yeah.
And I immediately got the vibe. Yeah. But obviously, the things you'd said in the email about who you'd worked with, it was a bit surreal for me. Do you know what I mean? It was a bit mad. It was like, what? Like, what are you saying that you've done? But then you put your number in the email, and you was like, if you're interested, just contact me. Yeah. Obviously, you'd explain to me, like, I'd explain to you that I mean, no disrespect by what I'm about to say, but who you said it to me, you? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, who are you? And probably the problem you've had in many capacities. Definitely. Why haven't I heard of all the amazing things you've done? Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what trick have I missed? Because I would like to believe I know what's going on. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'd been so caught up and so jaded by the idea of you can only really make a success of being in music, of being an artist or being a producer.
This is what I mean. This is what I mean.
Do you get me? So when you come along and you're like, yeah, I've got these verses from these guys, and I think you'd be sick for this, and you're talking to me like you're in A&R. Do you get what I'm saying? You're so not at that time. Do you know what I mean? But you're like, I've just watched your Colours. Like, it was such a genuine email, and I was like, I have to call this guy, even if it's rubbish. Like, I have to fact check this. You get me? Like, I have to call him and see what the situation really is and hear him speak. You get me? Because I'll know. I like to think I'm a pretty good judge of character. So like, I'll know. Like, you can suss when there's a frequency in someone's voice when they're BSing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it just wasn't that. It was so genuine.
For me, one of the most like amazing moments was, well, the release of The Worst Generation, but the process of actually going from you inviting me to just meet the label, like even, you know what I mean? Which you didn't, there's no real reason at that time because I wasn't really.
But the thing is, to me, there was every reason. Yeah, you get what I'm saying? It was like, it wasn't like Manon is the key, but because we'd already, like, we were moving, you get me? Things were picking up and people were very interested, you get me? There was a lot more money on the table elsewhere. Do you know what I mean? But we wanted to go with somebody who paid attention just like you'd paid attention. And that's where the gratitude comes from.
Yeah, love, man.
Up in the South, made a man over most. Barely talk about my life though, no matter how bad it might go. Keep it inside, oh, don't mean it's right, no.
So let's talk about the album a little bit and the process of creating that. Are you done with that? With your?
I think. I mean, I know yours.
He's holding it like a poker card.
I know yours is gonna be like all shaded up.
We've got more drinks coming, you know. Let's. Chrissy, the MVP, is about to walk in.
Chrissy, what are you hitting us? What is this?
Hey, this is insane. Look at that. Regal Rain.
Regal Rain, yeah.
Let's go.
We're quoting the album now.
Yeah, come on. We've been quoting the album. What was this one called?
To Gold.
To go to Regal. Way to go to Regal. Thank you, Chrissy.
Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you, Chivas Regal, man. Cheers.
Oh my days. I'm about to be.
That is amazing.
That's crazy.
Is Chrissy here all night, yeah?
This is crazy now. All right, cool. All right, I'm gonna give you this.
Okay.
And you give me that.
Wait. Who's doing? Oh, you going first?
Yeah, I mean, I can go. Even got the nose piercing in there.
Who does this look like? This is mad. Take a look at this.
You say this.
Bruv. Nah, I feel bumped, man. I saw the Gets one. What?
What do you mean? I feel like that's not. Let me get. I'm like, this is not too bad. I feel like this is. I got your stubble in there.
This is cool, but I sort of look like.
I even like man signed it up and that.
Yeah. Okay. I can. All right. Here we go. Look. Check this out.
I feel like I got the hair mad on point.
I feel like I'm on Crime Watch out here.
What? Don't say that.
Wait. Actually, to be fair, this is actually a Crime Watch episode right here. Hold on.
Stop it. Stop it, man.
Love, man. This is wicked. I'm actually going to keep this in my studio, though. Hold up. I didn't even sign. Let me sign that one for you, man.
Sign that, bro.
Not that it's going to be worth much.
No,
but
bro, that signature's worth a whole load of money right now. I tell you that much.
This is amazing. This is a great idea. I might actually just do this with the family as well.
Bro, do it. I just thought it would be a nice way to just bond. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
this is cold. Thank you for that.
That's all love, man.
So yeah.
That album.
So from South all the way through to the Worst Generation.
Worst Generation, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? As the title track, but also the ending track. I came to you with it like half done.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd gone through so much at that point to just try and get it to where it ended up being, and just kind of putting my all into all my time and effort and energy into trying to make it something special. Do you know what I mean? And to tell a story, again, not just of me, but of my environment and how that played a part on me. And you played a massive, massive part in that. Again, I think that's my fourth thank you to you. Do you know what I mean? Because without you, it wouldn't sound how it sounds. And a lot of people especially in that first couple of weeks, were making comments on how amazing the production value was. You get me? The quality of the music. You know what I mean? So talk me through the process, what it was like. I mean, I know what it was like for me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I have the title executive producer on this record, and in some ways, I think you know, I have to put a co in front of it, because really and truly, I think you were the executive producer. We went really, really deep between us.
Yeah.
You know, we went very deep on every last detail to kind of paint the world that you had in your mind. I think the process for me was painstaking, of course, but I actually think it was so rewarding, because I think, you know, something I've learned about my craft as a producer from one of my friends, Tushar, who I did a lot of work with earlier. Big up Tushar,
amazing.
But what he said to me once was, you know, a lot of producers kind of get lost in the whole, like, let me put my stamp on it, you know. He's like, that's going to happen, but you know, one of the things that is our job is to really kind of, it is to make your vision come to life. It's to produce the thing that you have imagined, you know, like quite literally. And so I think this was the first time that I can say that I really truly felt like it was like the perfect marriage of those ideas. You know, it was everything I hoped that you imagined it would be. But it was, you know, somehow I guess still felt like mine. You know, it still felt like I can listen to it end to end, and I still get that weird kind of. It's almost like you know, so a shiver runs down my spine when I hear it, because I'm like, wow, like, yeah, we made that. You know, I mean, we really crafted that.
Really crafted that.
And yeah, man, so it's thank yous right back, dude, like, because it was an amazing process, but I feel like a lot of it was really down to you being meticulous and trusting me to kind of, you know, to deliver what you wanted. So thank you, man, and hopefully it continues.
Yeah, no, definitely, bro. Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, man. There'll be more every time. So lastly, I want to talk about the soundtrack for the #1 anime of 2020 and 2021, Jujutsu Kaisen. Do you know what I mean? And I think for me, being a long time anime fan, it was a dream come true to be a part of the music team that wrote for that anime, and you were the catalyst for that, because obviously you introduced me to Yuki Yamamoto, who was scoring the music at that point. So talk me through what happened when you met Yuki, and how that transitioned into us working on the project, because obviously you supervised the score that we wrote.
I'm deep on comic books, and so I remember us connecting on that, and you saying, look, I'm just as deep as that on, if not more, on anime. About a year after I met you, I was working on putting on a concert which actually turned into like the biggest concert the Middle East has ever seen, which is A.R. Rahman performing at one of the World Cup stadiums in Qatar.
Crazy.
That in itself was a crazy moment for me. But during that process, the company Katara Studios, who set up the show and were working with me kind of creatively to put the whole thing together. They invited me to see their facility in Qatar, which is phenomenal. You know, it's designed by the same group of people that designed Abbey Road. So essentially, it's like that grade of studio, and it's been pulling in a lot of score work, you know, from the film and TV video game world. And at that time, Yuki Yamamoto, who for anybody who really knows about whether it's the anime side of things or even video games, they'll know about Yuki Yamamoto already. So apologies for repeating it, but for those who don't, Yuki Yamamoto is one of the most prolific orchestrators, composers in that world, and he has been orchestrating. He received the baton from the original orchestrators and composers.
How many orchestrators and composers? The title that you're about to say, because I've done my research now. Yeah. The title that you're about to say.
Well, you probably know better than me.
How many were there before?
I think 3. Am I right in saying that? Or 2?
I believe there was 2.
2, probably. You're right. He's the third. He's the third. You're right.
So
you're right.
Go ahead.
So the third ever orchestrator composer on Final Fantasy, the video game, you know, series. And if you don't know what Final Fantasy is, you're watching the wrong show. like trust me. So I'm getting a tour of the studio and whatever, and we literally meet him in the corridor of Katara Studios, and Mazen and Hussein, who's the CEO of Katara, are like, oh, Yuki, Manon Yuki, you know, Yuki Yamamoto, and I'm like, Yuki Yamamoto?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, in Qatar.
Was this another, like, A.R. Rahman?
Yeah, it was just like, but it was like, at least I was prepared that I might meet A.R. Rahman. This was crazy. So I met Yuki, and lovely, like, you already know. It's like, it wasn't
he's
even
a
thing.
brilliant, man, big up Yuki every single time.
Yeah. So, you know, we shook hands, and he was like, oh, so, you know, what are you doing here? And I'm like, we're putting on a show for A.R. Rahman. And little did I know, like, obviously, that even he and everybody, I guess, in that world knows who A.R. Rahman is. So straight off the bat, he was like, what? A.R. Rahman's here? He's got a concert? No way. I can't believe I'm still only here for a few days. Whatever. We kept in touch anyway. Long story short, we kept in touch. And I ended up telling him about you, just telling him about you as an artist and the fact that we were working on the Mick Jenkins record. A few months later now, he calls me out of the blue, and we're working on The Worst Generation. And he's like, hey, you know, I'm working on this anime series, and we need a rapper. Like, we need a rapper to, you know, to kind of jump on it. And then it struck me, I was like, okay, then there's a guy who just knows the culture, who understands what's going on with anime. And I just sort of said to him, like, look, there's a guy. I know the guy, and he is the guy, but you're going to need to let me know whether or not we can have some creative control over the thing, because he's going to want to write it. He was like, send me some stuff of his, and you know how Yuki talks anyway. He was like, send me some stuff of his. I don't want the kind of gangsters and chains and, like, you know, like the guns and the gang. Like, we don't want any of that. We need it to be like very, you know. And so I was like, yeah, he's not that guy. Don't worry. Send him the stuff now. He calls me back about 20 minutes later, and he's like, yeah, he's great. Like, you know, it would be amazing to kind of, like, you know, see if we can get him involved. And that was it, man. Like, literally, it was just the fact that you told me you were into anime, and we'd been working together. And I knew that you would do it justice, not because of your ability as a craftsman with the pen or whatever. It was more, or equally, you know, the fact that you respected the culture and you understood. And it was almost a full circle moment for me, because I see TWG as a kind of me giving back to the culture that kind of created me as a musician. You know what I mean? And I almost see that for you. I saw that for you in that moment. I was like, if he can do this,
I'd already seen.
It's over.
It was crazy for me, and we'll wrap on this point, but I just want to say thank you, because I'd already seen the trailer for it.
Crazy.
Like 2 million views in the space of like 2 weeks. Something silly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was climbing every day, because I'd revisited it. Like, it was so surreal for me to, like, I've been watching anime for 13, 14, 15 plus years. So to be a part of such an amazingly crafted anime, and to be such a big part of it as the first, or what turns out, like we discovered, is the first black UK artist to have contributed to the OST or written music.
It's crazy.
And scored for the OST.
What an accolade.
Do you know what I mean? For that. You facilitated that for me. Do you know what I mean? So I
I can't even put into words. Do you get me? How grateful I am for
it's all
that.
Honestly,
you know what I mean?
It couldn't have been anybody else, man. So
I genuinely believe that. I believe that was written. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a big part of why I'm so motivated to see what else we can craft together.
Yeah, man.
You know
this is definitely the beginning, bro.
Do you know what I mean? The beginning. Salut.
Cheers. Cheers to that, brother.
I don't even know why I'm saying salut, bro. I don't even say that on a normal day, bro.
Man, honestly.
It's the whiskey.
It's that, well, whatever.
Big up Chivas.
It's Chrissy, that's what it is.
It is, it's Chrissy, innit?
Chrissy ruined
You're
us.
out here, you're doing me in, Chrissy, man.
Bro, thank you again, man, for having me. And honestly, like, yeah, this is crazy. Like, the fact that you're even here doing this with all these amazing people, like, it's testament to what we've been able to achieve, but really the kind of, I think, the path you've laid for yourself. And I think, yeah, man, a lot more to come, bro. A lot more to come. Love, big love, bro.
Every single time.
Big up the team, man.
Cool. And that's good because I've just dropped my pack.
Chrissy's gonna be the MVP favorite character for the series, you know. It's like, oh, big up Chrissy.
Imagine the spin-off series.
Do you know what I mean? At the bar with Chrissy. Come on. Whiskey with Chrissy.
Innit?
I'm into it. Let me know if you got trips to produce it.
From danger, she knew I could end up. She don't say too many prayers. Had to mind where I was playing. Cause when hunger turned to hatred, ain't no curfew worth debating. Any bed I make, I lay in. I could slip in and up sleep. There's no pillows on these pavements, though my family did their best. My father's spot was vacant. We knew where the knees caught.